Yeah, one of the top reasons so many farmers lose their snails is poor housing technique for the snails. So if you're thinking about venturing into snail farming or you're seeing losses in your business, it's because of poor housing. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you about some of the best housing techniques that you can utilize.
Joshua
Joseph.
Hi, my name is Joshua, and on this channel we talk about agricultural topics. If you are somebody who has been in the snail industry for a while, you know that one very important thing that you must consider in your snail farm is the housing that you use for your snails. You know, snails are very delicate animals, and they want to stay in a moist place, in a place that is cold, in a place that is comfortable for them, in a place that is predator free. So that's the kind of environment that is good to put your snails, so that you can maximize profit and not lose snails, and in the end lose money in your business. So there are different reasons why housing is very, very important in your snail farming business. And one very important reason is because it will reduce mortality rates in your snail farm. Snails will be able to live longer and produce more hatchlings for you if you take care of the kind of environment that you put these snails. Another thing is that you can prevent disease. You can prevent disease because when snails are too much in a place, when you are not giving them a proper place to stay, they are now overcrowded, and which can bring about different diseases in the snail pen. Bad housing means more losses, more diseases, more escape. So what are the different types of housing that you can use, different types of pen that you can utilize to house your snails? And the first type is your hutch box. You can use a hutch box, which can be a wooden or a metal frame that you construct in order to house these snails. Now this hutch box is just a wooden frame that you make that has been elevated from the ground to prevent ants or predators like snakes, snail, and lizard from getting in. This kind of housing technique is mainly used for those who just want to do small farming and small snail farming, maybe in your backyard or just in a small enclosed space. You can just utilize this type of housing technique for the snails. And this housing technique can take about up to 5 to about 20 to sometimes 30 snails, depending on how large the frame is. So this hutch box is very important, and it can be something that is utilized by most beginners should utilize this technique to start, because you don't want to start snail farming in a very large format and then lose money. You want to start and be learning as you go in the business. So a hutch box is very important. If you use a hutch box, you can from there grow into other types of housing. You also have the concrete pen. Concrete pen is larger than the hutch box that you used in your backyard. Concrete pen is something that you construct. It's almost like a fish pond, but you construct it just for the purpose of these snails. You construct it and then you put in some mud into it, some sand into it, because most type of effective soil that you use in snail farming is a loamy soil. You shouldn't use sandy soil, and you shouldn't use clay soil. Rectangular pattern or a square pattern, and then maybe 1.5 by 2 meters, and then you put in some soils into it, and then you mix the soil with some leaves, some dry leaves, and some organic materials like manure and things like that. Then you put in your snails into it. This kind of pen can house up to from 30 to 50 snails, and with this you can have different compartments for different categories of snails depending on how you arrange the snails. If you're extending from the hutch box, you can get into this type of pen, this type of snail house for the snails. This one is way larger, is a little bit larger than the hutch box that you used. So you can scale into a concrete pen from your hutch box. Also, you have the free range pen, and this type of pen that is utilized for snail farmers is just mostly used in rural areas where you just have a large compound, a large area that's been fenced, and you just put in these snails. Just a natural environment. You have your grasses, you have your trees and things like that. You just leave the snails in those places to just roam about freely. The danger about using this kind of place is that it is easier for the snails to just escape. This one requires more monitoring, and it can take large amount of snails, but you have to monitor this much more effectively. Those are the major types of pen and housing that you can use for your snails. You can use the hutch box, you can use the concrete pen, and you can use the free range environments to house your snails. But each of them comes with their pros and their cons, so depending on which one is suitable for you. You also have different types of housing techniques for snails. You have the tire format, and the tire pen, and this tire pen is just about stacking old tires of vehicles and then putting soils into them and then doing taking care of your snails from these stack styles. Now each stack can take about 5 to sometimes 10 snails depending on how you arrange them. You also have plastic buckets. You can use plastic buckets. You can just use plastic buckets, put in some soils into it, and put in about 5 to 7 snails depending on how large the bucket is. Which type of housing is suitable for your need? Now that depends on you, depending on the amount of income that you have, how much you want to invest in snail farming, what level you are in learning of the snail farming. It's not advisable to go into extensive snail farming when you're just a beginner. It's very important to start as a small farmer, as a small snail farmer. Start with the hutch box, and if you're in the urban environment, you cannot make use of the free range system. Also, depending on the level of monitoring that you want to give to your snails. If you want to give effective monitoring to your snails, if you want to be much more involved in the monitoring of your snails, then it's important for you to use concrete method or utilize the hutch box method, because with this you can easily monitor. You can know which eggs have hatched, which snails are now matured, which snails are still in their young phase, which snails are growing faster, and things like that. So it's very important for you to consider all these things before choosing a required pen for your snails. You must avoid these mistakes if you want to have an effective snail growth in your snail pen. And one thing that is very, very important is you must have effective drainage system. Snails do not like waterlogged areas, because these waterlogged areas can drown them, and it can even flush them out, and it can even kill them. So it's very important for you to ensure that you have proper drainage system. So a snail pen also needs effective ventilation. It needs proper ventilation. Snails do not like heat, so it must be free from direct sunlight. You don't want direct sunlight on your snails, because this can be harmful to them. And also you need proper ventilation for these snails. You want to protect your snails. You don't want them to escape outside because of predators, and you don't want to lose them because you spent money on them. You want to make money from them also. So now you've seen these are the different types of housing that you can use in a snail farm or in a snail pen. Snail farming is a very, very lucrative venture, and if you venture into it with the right mindset, you can easily make an income from your snail farm. So now you've seen all the various types of snail housing that you can utilize for your snail in your snail farm. The next step is for you to choose which snail pen or which snail house fits your budget and your location and your environment. But I would recommend that you start small, learn fast, and scale wisely. And I wish you success.